Hi, Realtor Charles Cherney here with The Real Deal. And today's question is, does a seller benefit by staging their home for sale? And the answer is yes. So let's talk about this. If you live in your home and your home is going to be listed for sale, obviously introducing staging for each and every room is not practical because you live there. However, you can still stage your residence, if you will, by bringing it into order and making it look inviting. Perhaps you have a room on the lower level that is essentially serving as a storage room, but not functional as it presents itself. And you could take those items out, maybe put them in temporary storage or in an unfinished portion of the lower level, and then introduce some furniture to create functionality for how that room presents. And so if you live in the home that will be listed for sale, you can do some supplemental staging. It's not uncommon in my experience to have a seller client have a stager come by and help them with deciding how the home could best be served by the introduction of, say, some artwork, or, for example, perhaps replacing an extremely large dining room table with a smaller one to make the dining room look more appealing. It may be that there is a furniture piece or two that could benefit by being swapped out with one from the stager. So there are ways when you live in the home to work with a stager to make your home look more inviting. Look, every now and then I meet with a seller client who lives in their home and it looks beautiful just as it is. And so this sort of home does not need staging because it already looks so inviting. But there is some continuum from needs everything to needs nothing. You just need to sort of sort out where you are on that continuum as a seller if you own or occupy, and figure out how you can make the home look more inviting before it comes on the market. Again, it's a matter of what's practical given your situation. You may have kids, you may have pets, and your budget in terms of what you can afford. But you want to make the effort to try to make your home look appealing, even if you own or occupy. Now, the question regarding staging more obviously comes up when the home is vacant, when the seller has moved out. Now you have an empty home, and this is where people consider staging. And I can say from my own experience over the last 20 plus years as a top agent in Cambridge and Somerville, that staging makes a positive difference. If a buyer walks into a home and it's empty, it's hard for the buyer to feel orientated, to understand the space. They feel like they're walking through so many empty rooms because, in fact, that's what they're doing. So, with the introduction of staging to the residence by a professional staging company, when you walk in, you can see furniture in the living room. You can see a dining room table in the dining room. You can see accoutrements on the counter in the kitchen. You can walk through the primary bed bath suite and it will be featuring a bed and side tables and artwork and a sitting chair. You can step into the study and there'll be a desk. You can step out on the deck and there'll be a patio set, perhaps a table and two chairs. So again, staging allows people to understand the space as they might imagine it might function if they lived there. You know, staging is staging. It looks perfect and no one's there, and it just continues to look perfect for each and every visitor that comes through. So staging really does make a tangible difference in my experience. I had a listing last year which the seller did not want to stage and it wasn't selling, and I had finally convinced the seller to stage. And so the staging was introduced. And sure enough, within 48 hours, we had two offers on the property. So, yes, staging does make a difference. A question that sometimes comes up is, do you need to stage the entire home? Probably you don't. It's one of those situations where, generally speaking, the more staging you have, the better. However, staging can be expensive. And so if you do stage the entire home, it will be a more expensive proposition. Generally speaking, people will seek to stage the living room, dining room, kitchen, the primary bedroom, and additionally, one additional space, be it a second bedroom or a study. And if you have an outdoor space like a deck, it's nice to have a little outdoor furniture set up as well. So that's sort of the basic package. And, you know, depending on your financial situation and your budget, you might choose to stage more. Now, what if the home is really run down, and it falls into the gut renovation fixer upper category. For that kind of offering, if that's what you're going to put on the open market, I don't find it's necessary to stage. What you do in that instance, of course, is you clean it and clean the windows and remove what needs to be removed so that people enter into a clean, well-lighted space. I mean, the buyer pool for that kind of offering is thinking whole house renovation. They're not necessarily going to need furniture in place to help them visualize the space. Staging, generally speaking, in my experience, best serves sellers who are selling a home that the buyer pool will imagine moving into. That doesn't mean that they won't update the kitchen or bathrooms or do this or that project in the home. But generally speaking, it has been lived in, it will be lived in. It doesn't need someone to do a whole house reno to make it whole. So for those sorts of listings that fall into the gut renovation category, I don't feel you necessarily need to include staging. Now, for those who don't have the budget for actual staging, there is an alternative, which is virtual staging. And I have had sellers over the years elect to have me virtually stage the home. There are a number of companies that do virtual staging. And with virtual staging, there's not actual real furniture brought into the home. It's just that a professional photographer visits the property, takes professional photos of the empty rooms, and then high-res versions of those photos are sent to the online virtual staging company, which, with my guidance as the listing agent, presents furniture in various rooms to give the impression to the viewer who sees the property online of how the space would look with furniture. And I've never had any potential buyer complain to me about virtual staging. And so it's second best to actual staging. There's nothing like walking into a home with furniture. So actual staging is really great, but second best would be virtual staging. So hopefully this overview is helpful to you as a seller if you're considering whether or not you ought to stage. Reach out to me by text, telephone, or email if I can be of assistance to you in making this decision. And do know that where I work, we have a program that allows us to assist you with connecting with the stager and making payment up front that can be paid back by you at closing. So I can give you more information on that program if you reach out to me directly. My name is Charles Cherney, and I welcome the opportunity to help you sell for the best price if you're selling, or buy the right home if you're in the market to buy. Be in touch. I look forward to being of service. Take care.